Hello and welcome to this online version of SmartStart. My name is Jason Mack and I'm with the MTech Smart Zone, and thanks for being here. Let's get started. We will begin by going over a bit about what the MTech Smart Zone is and what you can expect from us in terms of services, and before diving right into today's content. The Smart Zone definition is really to advance the local economy, in this case our region, by establishing resources to develop innovation and growth for talented people to live and work in our area. So our area is recognized for its strong academics, high percentage of engineers, and a strong and growing collaborative culture for new and strong businesses. Currently, there are 20 smart zones in the state of Michigan. As you can see across the top here, there are 3 in the Upper Peninsula. And each one of these smart zones has some connection with a local university or universities. But this is usually in relationship only. MTech is not part of Michigan Tech, for example. We are a nonprofit, state-funded entity that is under the MEDC, or the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. We were one of the first, formed in 2002, and our friends to the east of us in Marquette, Innovate Marquette, is our satellite office that was formed 5 years ago. All of these, like I said, are connected with the university and working when necessary with their own tech transfer office. And overall, as we stretch across the glorious state of Michigan, we do collaborate with each other because as these smart zones have grown, they've developed their own flavor, their own resources, their own focus, which provides opportunity for unique innovations to get the best support while staying within the smart zone network, or at least within the state of Michigan. As a reminder, nonprofit means that there's no equity stake in your business as we begin and continue to work with you on your journey. So your success ultimately results in our success. As part of going through SmartStart, you will be receiving a copy of the Wendy Kennedy Institute book. It will be used as a guide and for your reference as we go forth to develop your business and your innovation. This screen should describe where you are generally with your idea, where you are right here at the early stage. You're at the ideation. No matter where you come from, whether it's in the community or a student, an engineer, some business professional, maybe you're an existing business, you have an innovative idea that you're looking to work on. You're looking to ideate. And at the ideation stage, we're hoping to help you spend as little money as possible, focus on customer discovery, prove you have a problem that requires a solution, that your solution is viable, and only then let's move forward with developing a business model so that you can eventually end up having a commercial success. You can have that commercial success. So right now, you may have interfaced with us through one of our Quick Start programs. Quick Start is really just an introduction into what we do at the MTech Smart Zone. But you are right here, sitting right here within our SmartStart position. This is day 1. And from here, there's many different ways that we can work with you. One of those is if you are an undergrad student at Michigan Tech. If you're not already connected, we can help you get connected with the Husky Innovate series through Pavlis Honors College. Whether you're a student or not, there are other programs available that focus on customer discovery, such as iCore, which is an NSF program that will take anybody who's in the community to people who are students, professors, grad students. But whether you go through this stage or not, we do have the ability to house some businesses, some innovation within our facility, in our incubation, in one of our 3 facilities, which I'll talk about in a couple slides here. Otherwise, we want to help you as you move your business, whether you're going to work in your garage, in your basement, some place in the community, to the point where you actually have commercial success. And once we get beyond SmartStart, one of the tools that we use, which is another off-the-shelf tool, is called Growth Wheel. And that's not a chief focus here within SmartStart, but just so you know, we have tools, we have people that will help you along this entire path. So SmartStart, as the name suggests, is just getting started. And from here, we'll move on. So once you complete SmartStart and we work together to determine your best path forward, we can continue to work with you along your path to success. This can involve facilities, lab space, maybe a co-working space, some software licensing opportunities, etc. For the case of ProNav, they are a business that came in through SmartStart. I'll be talking about them later on in Chapter 1. But they went through our SmartStart program, they moved into our incubator, and eventually they moved out. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to, in the case of NECI, that is a business out of Lake Linden who hasn't gone through our programs. They are an existing business. They've been in existence for a number of years, but there's been times where we've come in and helped them with different early stage support, such as training or seminars. We've been helping them or talking about lab space, as well as developing advisory boards or even just connections out in industry as they develop new products. So our early stage support really depends on what your needs are. Speaking of facilities, we have 3 of them. The Lakeshore Center is just down from the library restaurant, or next to the Portage Lake District Library, right on the Portage. This is a Michigan Tech building, and we lease the entire first floor. So if you've ever been in that building and you've been looking for Michigan Tech, you need to go to the second or third floors. But we have that whole first floor there. Secondly, the building that is within our LDFA that we own is the Powerhouse building, the very iconic building on the south side of the Portage Lake lift bridge. So we have a number of clients who are in there. And then over in Hancock, we have the 4th floor, or I guess if my mouse is correct, right here, the 4th floor of the Judula Center, the old Portage Lake District, Portage View Hospital, which is just on the west side of town. And we have a number of different offices, including our wet lab is located in this facility. Now, for most of these, specifically for the Lakeshore Center and the Powerhouse, there is a bus service that is used through Michigan Tech, which will shuttle students and or people to and from the university to these facilities. Each one of these does have fiber optic connectivity. You have the ability to connect with other providers as necessary, but we have a number of different ways that we can help set you up properly in a facility should that be your need with your business, your organization. But similar to how I described with ProNav, we want you to get started. We want you to get off on the right foot, and eventually we want you out in the community. And so this is not a permanent location for you when you end up in our facility, but when you're ready to leave the nest, that's when we will help you with that transition to a full-time space wherever that is, hopefully in our community. Now, the MTech team itself is a small, scrappy team of 5 folks, and we are really good at what we do, but we also realize that we need to lean on our ecosystem to support you in the best way, shape possible. So what we do is we lean on various service providers that you may not know already exist in our area. From financial planning, financial services, there's a number of different law firms in the area, or those that we have connections to just outside of the area and within the state. There are some folks who are professional patent agents or patent attorneys. We have some people who can really help you out on the accounting side. This is great when we talk through forming your business. As I mentioned before, we put on different training and learning opportunities. And when you're looking to expand your team, we have human resources services or service providers in the area that can help you. This is just a small example of what we have around in this area. We have good relationships with these organizations, and they're all here to serve you in your business. So if you have any sort of need outside of what we can provide directly, we will help get you connected. On top of that, there is the local SBDC, Small Business Development Centers. They're across Michigan, and they also provide some other resources that are available for you. As shown before, we will follow this basic itinerary which covers different sections of the Wendy Kennedy Institute book. For today's session, we will be covering chapters 1 and 2. Moving on with each following session, you can see what we will be covering in general. For this online version, you will receive a video like this one, which I'll expect you to review prior to our Zoom meeting. Each session will require some pre-work to be performed, and that work will be submitted to me at least on the day that we meet, so that we can share and discuss what you've learned and what I've asked from you as a group. This way, the lecture portion can be done outside of class, and we can focus on in-class discussing what you learned, and we can really dive a little bit deeper into these different chapters, these different topics. We typically take a full 7 weeks to go through all of the content, but if there is a strong desire by the team to spend more time on a specific subject, we can and we will do that. So if there's anything outside of this course outline that interests you or anybody in the cohort, we can bring that subject matter in and discuss it. And in some cases, I may invite external subject matter experts, so people who, say, may be in the supplier network portion, to come in and talk about one of these topics. This way, not only can we dive a little bit deeper on these subjects, but also you can gain them as far as somebody you can add to your own network. As far as missing classes, if you are unable to make one of the scheduled sessions, don't worry. Just let me know, and we can schedule some time outside of class. I generally say if half or so of the class is unable to make one of these sessions, we'll just push the whole session back a week. This is not a Finlandia or Michigan Tech course. This is a course specifically designed for you to cover basic concepts for you to best launch your business, your innovation. So let's make the most of it, and let's work with you to make it as best possible. And we'll discuss this later in session 5, but we will schedule some times for each of you to potentially present or pitch your business idea. This is something that we'll work with you on. You'll definitely have all the ammunition necessary to pull this off, but we'll discuss this, like I said, later in session 5. So some general ground rules. When we meet together, like I said, there'll be little or no lecturing. If something I said did not make sense in the lecture or in person, just ask. As we we learn when we question. When it comes to your innovation, I don't need to know, or we don't need to know what your special sauce is. Meaning, we don't need to know how it works. That is not important in this class. We need to know what it does and what problem it's solving and what is that solution. So when we discuss things, there's no need to share all the details of your innovation, what's under the hood. Once we have identified clearly and a great deal what your market is, only then do we develop a plan on how to connect your innovation to the market. So again, schedule some time outside of class. Feel free to communicate with other members in this group for help, support, and questions. I'll leave that up to you as we get to know one another in the class. So why are we here? The big reason why you are here is because you are in the ideation phase, as I was describing earlier. We want to ensure that your innovation isn't something that only you like. We need to make sure that there's a clearly defined market for your innovation. Once we have identified this, only then do we develop a plan on how to connect your innovation to that market. This is partially what people might call a business plan, the plan that will use to execute your business endeavor. So we don't want to just build something and hope that they come. This isn't a field of dreams. This is why you are here, and this is what we are prepared to do to help. So let us ensure that your market is clearly identified before you spend any time and money developing your innovation. So it's not like this, but something like this. So normally we would introduce ourselves during the in-person cohort. We will be doing this when we meet later on this week or whenever it is that we were meeting for this first session. We will now get started in Chapter 1. We'll move into Chapter 2, and then we'll define what homework I need you to have completed and submitted to the group prior to the start of class. Are you ready? Well, let's get into the good stuff and get started. So let's jump into Chapter 1. So what do you see when you look at this? You see a boat, you see a guy or gal, looks like they're fishing. Maybe this is some device. It looks like it's connected to another device. There's a map here. This looks like a motor of some sorts. There's some fish. What do you see? Well, this is actually the napkin drawing for a company I was describing before, which was ProNav Marine. So this was ProNav Marine's first sketch or first napkin drawing that they shared prior to really launching their business, and even before they did much work on the design of their device. And this is what they drew in SmartStart. This is what I'm going to be asking you to do here for Chapter 1. So what is this? If you look them up, pronavmarine.com, you'll find that they developed a small little piece of hardware that sits and connects to an existing trolling motor. It Bluetooth connects to the fishermen, where then they can plot a course on the lake, and therefore you don't have one person driving the boat and the other person, or however many other people, fishing. But now everybody can focus on fishing. And so what we're looking to do is have you draw this out like this. So in Chapter 1, the napkin drawing, this is where we're going to so for your first bit of homework, I want you to draw your napkin drawing. Use the guide described here and in Chapter 1 of the book. There are 3 main steps. Draw your big picture, add a few keywords, and then highlight a few attributes related to your innovation. I do not expect your drawings to look like this, folks. I mean, you can see with what ProNav did, they made a stick figure. They used a couple different colors. Different colors is great, but ultimately, I'm not expecting anything quite like this. If you want to use clip art at this point, because we're remote, go ahead and do so. But lay it out in a simple way if you haven't done so already. The idea here is we want to be able to quickly and simply explain not how your innovation works, not how your product works, not how your general business is working, but or how the inner workings are, but how it works in general from the perspective maybe of what your customers might see or how you might be explaining in a sales piece, in some marketing collateral perhaps. So as is described here, use analogies, metaphors, images, keep it simple, yet try to be as dynamic as possible, and maybe work on some proof points. There are lots of ideas on how to think about doing this in the book, but again, keep it simple, keep it high level. Maybe in general, how would you explain it? And think about ProNavs. Does it show how the technology works specifically? Put the customer and their needs to the front. So now it's your turn. I suggest you pause this video right now, read through Chapter 1, then sketch out your napkin drawing. Do the best you can. I'm not expecting, like I said, a piece of art. I just like this laid out as best you can. And from there, I'd want you to take a picture of it and therefore email it to me prior to the next session. So go ahead and press pause, take a breath, take a drink of your coffee, and get to work. Okay, one of the attachments that I should have also sent to you, along with a link to this video, is an excerpt from a book. So this book was written by Rob Fitzgerald, called The Mom Test. And the premise is this: have you ever shared your idea with your mom or your friend? What did they say? What did mom say? I'm guessing that she said, "Oh, this is a great idea, honey. You should totally do this." Maybe that's how you got here with your idea in your head. And instead, what if you asked your mom about the problem you are solving? In the case of ProNav, might you ask her, do you go fishing? Do you have issues with one person always complaining about how they are doing all the driving and not doing any of the fishing? What might your mom say then? The point I'm trying to make is that in most cases, you may have been asking the wrong questions of your friends, your family, and especially your mom. The only way to get an honest answer is to talk to them about the problems they might be facing, not describing your idea and what you think of it. By asking about problems, you will determine if they actually have this problem, therefore identifying if they are a customer of yours or not, and you'll learn a lot more about your customers' needs. You'll maybe figure out what their purchasing process is, if they are the ones who will actually make the decision on the purchase, and how much they might be willing to spend on this product. And later on, as we go through this, you'll be able to identify how big that customer is, like how many people there are in a specific region, say in the United States. So this excerpt provides some good examples of both good and bad questions and why they are good and bad questions. And prior to the session that we talk at next, I would like you to do your best to talk with 5 potential customers. I want you to take notes. I want you to define what maybe some characteristics about this customer. And I'd like you to share how some of those conversations went. When we do this, I don't want to see you having sent out a survey. If at all possible, talk to these people face to face. The second would be using video, online videos such as Zoom or Google Meet or something along those lines. And at the least, a phone call. All right? So we'll talk about this some more. I'll review this at the end, but I'd like you to talk to 5 potential customers by the next time we meet. And this is going to be something that we'll be doing almost every week. Okay, in Chapter 2, we'll be focusing on what problem you are trying to solve. Not how it works, not what technology you have, simply what problem exists out there in the world that you've discovered and that you plan on remedying. Now, if you look at a lot of the more innovative ideas we've seen over the last few years, some have involved technology, and you'll notice that the problem that they were solving didn't require a technological breakthrough. It was by being customer-centric completely that they were able to be a major success. Technology by itself is not the real disruptor. Not being customer-centric is the biggest threat to any business. And this is why it's that important that we are going to focus on this. So, this is part of the deliverable for Chapter 2. We are going to end up writing what we call the problem statement. So, what does this mean? Well, first, to start off, we're going to write a hypothesis statement, a statement that defines the problem that you are addressing. In Chapter 2, we start with this because all the other chapters are tied to this definition. So it's important we get this right. And once we get it right, we're going to test it and then modify it until it is just right. This is where customer discovery comes into place. We will develop your problem statement, test this hypothesis by communicating with potential customers until we know for sure that we have it right. until we have it perfected so that we can launch your business. So as shown in the book, we start by defining the pain, which is at the bottom. We move up to priority and then the proof. You put these three pieces together and then you'll end up being able to write your problem statement. So, talking about the pain. For this, please reference a book. They have some really great examples, but overall, the real pain is where you define the underlying problem you are addressing. Is it an open gash wound? Is it just a Band-Aid? How big of a problem is it for your customer? And as a note, we will define who your customers are later on in these sessions. But for right now, write a few sentences describing what the real pain is. The priority. The priority portion helps support the pain portion by identifying what causes the pain. For this, again, review the section in the book. But you should be able to identify 2 to 3 triggers that ignite this problem. Write these down. Right now, you may be able to go online or in a book and be able to back your problem up with statistics. Anything that has not come directly from you and your own thoughts in your head. So I want you to get out there and discover some. Do some searching and make sure you can write down 1 to 2 sentences, maybe 1 to 2 examples, some statistics that help support that this is an important problem that should be solved. If you can make this punch, make something that hits you in the gut. I want to feel this as being a very supportive portion of your overall problem statement. And then, now that you have those 3 pieces, now that you've written out your pain, priority, and proof sentences, put them together in a paragraph that makes sense. And this is ultimately what I'd like you to finalize and then submit to me before we meet. When you think about many commercials, what do they typically describe first? They share their problem statement. They don't tell you what the product does. They focus on describing the problem. They pull you in when you've identified as one of their customers, which means that you are seeing their ad on a specific website, around a specific TV show, or in the pages of a magazine. Rarely do you see advertisements for Ford trucks in Vogue magazine, and will you ever see ads for Pro Nav Marine's Pro Angler in a music store website? People target customers where they live, where they work, and where they go for consuming information. And this is what we're focused on doing here as well. So for next time, what I'd like you to do is read the mom test notes, come up with some questions that you might ask prospective customers about your product, your innovation, your business concept. And then I want you to reach out and communicate with 5 potential customers. Take notes. It doesn't need to be word for word. I'd rather you don't record sessions with these folks. Just write down key notes in relation to some questions that you have. And we'll be going over this in great detail in class. If you can get 5 by the next time we meet, that's great. You don't have to have 5. Like I said, this is something that I will ask you to do again and again throughout this course, throughout SmartStart. I'd like you to also complete the napkin drawing, which was chapter 1. And as I just got done explaining, I want to see a completed problem statement. Please email that to me prior to our session. Any questions? Well, if you do, feel free to contact me. You should have my email. My cell phone is in my signature. Reach out to me as you will, and let's get started here. This is the first few steps in a great big world, so let's see what we can do to help you out. Well, with that, we'll call it quits. Have a great day and get to work. We'll talk to you soon.